Hey, Justin here with Stay at Home Dads podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I finally have my first in front of me guest on today's show, so that is really exciting. I know I've been talking about it for a while, but finally got someone here. A good friend of mine actually just stopped by, a neighborhood friend of mine, and we had a good conversation. No real life lessons or tips, hopefully just some good dialogue where I'm not just talking to myself. Anyways, audio is a little bit rough, so I hope you can bear with me. I'm still working on that, but let's just get into it. All right. My friend here, Doug,
Hey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're a professional engineer, a father of three. I heard you're a professional ping pong player and quite a brisket smoker. So thanks for coming on to my very small podcast.
It's quite the introduction.
Yes.
Some of those things are true.
Also a fan of two wheels, right? You have a motorcycle?
I do. I have a Triumph Street Triple.
And your wife hasn't made you sell it yet?
She has one too.
No.
Yeah.
She hasn't made you sell that one too yet?
I want to sell hers because she never rides hers, but the deal is if she sells hers, then I gotta sell mine. So now we just have two bikes that we don't ride.
I had one and I sold it for a wedding ring. So I rode it for years and years and I loved it. I put 10,000 miles on it. I drove it to work and then it sat in my garage like yours did. And I cleaned the gas tank and the carbs out 2 or 3 times and I said, all right, that's enough. So I sold it, I fixed it and I sold it and then I got engaged. So that's the end of my two-wheel
Probably
story.
a smart move. Mine just sits in my garage. I used to commute on it when I didn't live in the suburbs. But
oh, really?
Yeah. When I lived in closer to town, or closer to my office, it was like a 5-mile city streets commute. And it was fun to zip around.
Yeah, that's cool. How did you get into engineering? Was that like your lifelong dream? Was that something that you always wanted?
No, it's just.
I don't know. I've known you for a long time. People that are listening don't know, but we're good friends. We've known each other for a good 3 years now. But I don't know that backstory. I don't know like how you got into what you got into.
Yeah, that's a good question. I kind of just fell into it. And I was always good at math and science, and I didn't like writing papers or anything like that. And so yeah, my parents said I could go to an in-state school. And the two big in-state options in Virginia were Virginia Tech and UVA. There's some smaller options too, but I wanted to go to a big school, and Virginia Tech was a really good engineering school. So I just thought, sure, I'll apply. And you can actually apply directly to the engineering school when you're in high school, and or you can just apply for general admission. So I just thought, I'll just apply for this while I'm applying for general admission. I got in, so
nice.
Yeah.
Did you play sports then too, or no?
No.
You're not a sports guy?
I played sports growing up, and but nothing. I didn't even play varsity sports in high school. Just like
so, where does your competitiveness come from? Of darts and pickleball and kickball. Where does that stem from?
Yeah, I'm really competitive. I'm just not very good at things.
Just mediocre at everything? Or?
Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. You're a good ping pong player and pickleball player. Much better than myself, but. It's yeah.
I like racket sports and baseball, softball, t-ball now.
Is any of your kids competitive? Do they get into it at all? Or are they like my kids and they give up in 5 minutes? And
my daughter's competitive to a fault. Yeah, she'll be really into it and then freak out when something doesn't go her way and just start crying and melt down and. Yeah.
Like a tennis racket smasher, just like
smash the racket, storm off everything. She'll blame the ball, blame the racket, everything. So I don't need to work on that.
It's the equipment. It's always the equipment. It's never the operator. So, well, this is kind of a dad's type of show, or that's kind of what I talk about, and so I guess we'll get into that and get that out of the way. So you have 3 kids. How do you feel about 3 children? Now you love them, right? I mean, sure, right.
Yes. You mean the number 3?
Yeah. Well, how did you come about? I mean, you had 2. You were set. You have a boy and a girl, and then you added like this wagon third wheel here.
Yeah. Tara always wanted like 6. My wife.
Wow.
And that was before we started having kids. And then as we started having them, I think her expectations.
The realization that this is hard.
Yeah, they're hard. They're expensive. They're a lot of work. How did we end up on 3? Oh, it was. I guess we talk about that. It was that bike night we went on.
Okay.
It was.
You were always down, or you didn't care. You were down for 3. Your wife kind of wanted a multiple, but you were just like, whatever. If she wants that,
I think after 2 we were kind of on the fence, and then we went on that epic bike night with tequila and wine in the park.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
That night.
That it happened that night. The magic happened that night. Okay.
Yeah, I think I was like meant to schedule a vasectomy at some point and never did.
Oh, so you drug your feet a little bit.
Yeah,
I see. Well, it always ends up that way because we had a party and that's how we got pregnant with our second. Is we had some friends over and some booze was flowing, and it just happens when you're in your mid-30s. So it's just the way it goes.
But you can't just have one. Anyway,
another friend of mine in Vegas told me never to have one kid because it'll not mentally mess up. I don't want to like say that, but it doesn't give the kid that extra dynamic of having a sibling. So then we had one, and then he had one, and then we had our second, and then I'm asking him when is his second coming, and he's like, "Oh, we're not having a second." And I was like, "You gave me a pep talk on why to have 2 children." And now you're not even taking your own advice. So
yeah, it's like if you're in for an inch, you gotta in for the mile. Is that the
you just gotta do it?
What's the expression? Yeah, if you're gonna do it right.
Well, it's always like 1 sucks because it changes your life forever, right? And your whole life changes. And then 2 is like much harder, right?
Yeah.
Not that much different than 1. But then the third, I stopped at 2, of course. But how did the third?
It's no different, really.
No different.
Yeah.
Just a little different dynamic. I mean, you already had the minivan, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, well, you got to buy a new car, but you already have that handled. So
yeah, going from 3 to 2 wasn't that big of a shock, honestly, because my oldest is 6 and she's pretty self-sufficient. Well, I have a 4-year-old and a 9-month-old now, and it's. You just focus your attention on the one that
needs it the most.
Is the loudest.
Right. Well, like a lot of our friends, I mean, I commend you and Tara and our other friends. Well, Jim just had his third, and he was just mentioning his wife was talking to my wife, and they have to buy a new car now because they can't fit 3 car seats in the back of her SUV.
Yeah. And
Adini and Rupin just had their third.
Third, yeah.
Golly. Chris and Amber have 3. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a cool thing to do, man.
Hills have 3. It's wild. No, we're done. My wife has been. She can't be repaired. The doctor went in there and cut and tied and zipped and burned and whatever they do and handled that. So, but she does still want me to get a vasectomy just because we actually had not like a pregnancy scare. But it was just maybe a month ago, and Megan was late. Like her tubes are removed, but she was late by like a week.
Huh.
And she told me, and she said, "Hey, I should have had my cycle or whatever," and she didn't. And then we were buying furniture. Went to a furniture store just to randomly look at bunk beds, and she's telling me this, and then I start to panic, and I think my blood pressure went up. But
is it even possible if?
What is it, 1 in 100 or something like that?
Your tubes have to untangle and grow back? I'm not a doctor.
I think they can reconnect. Supposedly, it's like 1 out of so many can reconnect.
Oh, man.
But that was literally, I mean, that happened 4 years ago. Kennedy's 4, so.
Yeah.
But still, it gave us that moment of panic of, oh my God, like our life was flashing before our eyes. So you guys willingly did this, and we were freaking out like 19-year-old kids that didn't know what we were doing, So yeah, I commend you guys. You bit the bullet on that. So
yeah, we had a brief moment where we only had 1 childcare bill. I think it was like 6 months where we only had 1 kid in childcare because my daughter's in kindergarten, which is basically free.
Oh, and I was talking to your wife too last night because we just had a party at your house last night, and I'm a stay-at-home parent, and I was talking to some of the moms because there's no other stay-at-home dads around here. But I was talking to the moms that are stay-at-home parents, and I was asking them about working, and they were saying like there's no way that they could work and this and that with schedules of their spouses and stuff like that, like leaving town or working overnights and all that, like TJ does.
Yeah.
And then your wife was sitting there, and I asked her, I said, I don't know how you guys do it with now 3 kids. But before COVID, because she said it's really easy now that COVID is here because you're working from home, you're not rented offices, and she says she feels like a renewed woman and she has her life back and she can cook dinners and everything else. But prior to COVID, you only had 2 kids. And it was, she said it was just survival. Like
it was not great, honestly, because we live 30 minutes away from the office and we pay for childcare for all of our kids. And so and they happen to be in different places at different times. You could just because the schools have whatever different ages for kids. And so, we spend 15, 20 minutes dropping off the kids, then 30 minutes commuting, and then working all day downtown and, in a big office building. And then at the end of the day, not even at the end of the day, come 4 o'clock, everyone's still working. You look at your watch and you're like, shit, I got to get my kid before 5. Otherwise,
you get charged.
The meter starts rolling. Yeah. And you pay like $7 an hour. I don't know what it is, but you got to haul your ass out of there and repeat the whole thing. By the time you get home, you're just like frazzled, exhausted. The kids are like, what's going on?
Right. And then you have to like figure dinner out and you have to get kids ready for bed essentially because you're getting home.
Yeah.
I mean, you're working till, 4 and then you get kids at 5 and then you barely have time to eat dinner.
Right. You start the dinner routine at 6:37. And
right.
It's like, But we did that for a long time. And I guess that was normal, but not anymore. Now we work from home and it's, I totally agree. It's
if you went back, would that be a hard switch?
Yeah, I wouldn't go back. I'd find a new job.
Well, that's where we're at because I could go back to work, but my hours of work would be totally shit compared to Megan's. It would be worse than Megan's because blue collar work starts at like 5 in the morning and then goes till whenever you get done, with construction and stuff. And that's kind of what I'm used to. So that's what's been kind of holding us back. And then plus all your money goes to childcare.
Yeah. Our days now are amazing. We wake up, Lila gets on the bus and we drop our other 2 kids at daycare, which, it takes 15 minutes or so. And then the house is quiet and both get on our computers and
and go about your day.
It's like you're adults.
With no kids for
and it's silent except for your phone calls. And,
it's so weird.
Yeah. Zoom calls or whatever. That's great.
So Tara had, kind of a rough 3rd pregnancy though, right?
Oh yeah.
How did that, what happened there? How did that kind of go down? Oh
man, yeah, that was terrible. I'm not a doctor, but they essentially told us that at 24 weeks or something like that, they told us that she was in danger of going into labor at 24 weeks.
Wow.
And it was one of those normal, like, here's the ultrasound deals. And but then they brought us into our room afterwards, and that's
that's the key. That's when you do that, that's a no, right?
They never bring you into a room to tell you something good,
right? That's a good point.
So I was like, I've never been in a room before. This is it's like a table and an office type thing, and what is this room for? And then that's what we figured out. They told us that our son was in danger of like coming any moment, so they had to put what's it called? Basically a staple in her uterus. There's a medical term for it
just to keep it in there.
Yeah, just to keep it in there. And then they told her that, that went okay for like a couple of weeks, maybe a week or 2, and then they went back to see like, is it working?
Mm-hmm.
And they were basically like, shit, no, it's not working. You need to just stay here. You need to stay in the hospital until the baby comes.
You lie down and don't move. Just lie down. Stay there. For how many months was she in that type of predicament?
I remember it was the week or 2 before Halloween. She went into the hospital and didn't come out until after New Year's.
Oh my God.
So yeah.
So you went in for just a routine appointment.
Yeah.
And then you came out with no wife and thrown to the wolves of, here's 2 kids, do your job, go.
Well, yeah, a little bit different. She went to that appointment on her own, thinking it'd just be like a check in the box or whatever. Oh, yeah, everything's fine. And she calls me and she's like, I'm not coming back. I was just like, what? I was like, I'm making dinner. Like,
where are you? I need you.
I guess I'll eat your food. And she's like, no, I'm not coming back, like, at all. I was like, what? Yeah, it didn't really sink in.
So then you started from that point just being single dad pretty much.
Yeah, so I only had 2 kids at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was definitely a transition from going from two parents to one parent.
How did you get through that? Because you told me earlier that months ago when we kind of talked about this, that you got your kids like on a schedule a little bit. You were Mr. Dad and getting them aligned out. And
it was an adjustment for sure. Like right when we found out, Tara's mom offered to like get on a flight like right then and come up, and my parents said, whatever you need, we'll come help. And I was just like, I don't know how long this is going to be. I didn't want to do like set all these things up and then it's a week or 4 days.
Or
or the opposite. What if it's we were a long way away from 9 months at that point. What if I don't want my parents with me for 4 months or whatever it would have been. So yeah, I just I don't know, how did I manage that?
I'm genuinely curious, and I like to try to give tips on this little show. And if you have any tips for guys that are experiencing that same thing, or any parent experiencing that same thing, I don't know how you. I was scared, but my kids were, when I started doing this stay-at-home dad stuff, and right when we moved here, my kids were 1.5 and 4.5. So I was freaked out. Megan left for work and she was gone all day, and I'm looking around thinking to myself I have to like figure out dinner, and I have to figure out like all this stupid stuff that like my wife takes, that I take for granted clearly, that she used to handle, and there was like this learning curve, but you stepped up. Like,
I would say it definitely changed me as a dad for sure.
Really?
Because I think before Tara left for 3 months. She got quarantined in the hospital or whatever happened. She was, I tried to, for better or for worse, I was more fun than she was. You
were the laid back kind of fun dad, and she was more of the rule, the hammer kind of, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when she was gone, I tried to, I didn't think I needed to change, but then after, a week or two of the kids,
running over you,
running all over me and taking advantage of me, I quickly became the Mr. No. I was
fun dad is dead. He's gone.
The answer is no. The default answer is no. And then the transition to giving them rewards here and there, but the default had to lay down the law.
That no means so much to kids too when you say it.
When
you just say, "Oh, can I have something?" No, it's like the judge, right? Just coming down. It's
great. I never said it before. I didn't want to. I was like, "Oh yeah, I could." Sure, candy for before you even eat dinner. Why not? Like it's. I know.
I play the card sometimes, and I don't even think I do it maliciously to my wife, but I will play this card where one of my kids will come up and ask for something, whether it be a cookie or painting or whatever, and I just volley the ball to my wife, and I'm like, I don't know, sweetie, how about you ask your mom? Because I don't want to say yes and then have her think no, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or I don't want to say no and be the dick. I guess.
Yeah. Or another scenario is you don't really care one way or the other, but you give an answer and then you're in trouble with your wife because that's not the answer she wanted you to give. And
I say that Olivia can paint, and then Megan looks at me and says, we don't have time to paint. We're doing A, B, and C, or cooking dinner, or we're going out, or and then you have to backpedal and say, no. I said you could paint, but no, you can't.
Yeah,
paint.
Sorry.
Yeah. And then you feel like an asshole.
Yeah, I get in trouble for saying, well, mom said you can't do this, or mom said to do that, and then I get in trouble with my wife because she said that makes me look bad because you said I said no. But you did say no. It's like, but it doesn't matter. I'm like, okay.
You have to own your no. You gotta own it.
All right. Well, so when mom says no, that really means we said no. I don't know. I'm still learning.
Right. I don't know. There's a hierarchy in the house, and sometimes your kids will let you know that who's the boss, and they'll say mom's the boss, and okay, well,
yeah, I should ask my kids that.
I'm the second in command, I guess. I don't know. So it's
my daughter would probably say she's the boss.
Lila, yeah, she would. She's pretty strong-willed. What do you think? Okay, so do you think when your wife was in the hospital, did that have any effect on like your children? When mom is gone, where do you think anything
We saw the pictures on our TV does like a screensaver when it is just idle, and it shows pictures of whatever my Amazon backup photos.
Right.
And we saw some pictures of when Tara was in the hospital last year. We could go visit her in the parking lot. Wasn't technically allowed, but we were allowed to take her on walks. I was the only one allowed in the hospital because of COVID or whatever.
Right.
And then I could take her on walks around the parking lot. And then one of the nurses said, if you happen to see your kids out there, no one would really know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So anyway, we did all these parking lot visits with the kids. And we asked the kids when that photo popped up, like, hey, how long do you think Mom was in the hospital last year? And they're like, probably 3 days. We're just like, okay. They've forgotten all about this.
They have zero concept of time. Like, time, they don't have no idea.
But I don't know if it changed them. I don't, maybe. Probably just got to bond more with them.
So we talked about, I was going to ask you about parenting style between you and your wife, but we kind of already talked about that. So helicopter parent versus non-helicopter parent. You don't really fall in that category, do you?
I'm pretty non-helicoptery, I would say. Maybe to a fault. Maybe I should helicopter more.
I give my kids a little more space than my wife does. I don't know if your wife is more helicoptery than you are, but my wife is more than me. And for example, I was outside doing yard work just a week ago or so, and Kennedy was on her little Power Wheels out there in the street. Or not, she's on the sidewalk. She asked me if she could go to the neighbor's house, the next driveway, and I said, sure, go ahead. So I'm back to raking leaves like over here or something, and then she goes off, and then Megan, I see my wife jump off the porch in her socks with no shoes and sprint Usain Bolt style down the sidewalk to chase after a child that was in a Power Wheels.
And was she like going to get hit by a car?
Yeah, no, she just was too far away, and Kennedy got in trouble, and then I got in trouble because I allowed it. So I do see her point, but that just kind of is goes to show our parenting style. So
yeah,
I'm a little more laid back, and I kind of let the kids do whatever, and she does not.
we try and let the kids go off and get away from us a little bit, but they always seem to come back. That sounded bad, but we'll say, oh yeah, run over to Josh's house or run over to so and so's house, and they're like, no, Dad, come with me. All right, well, that's fair.
Doug turns and looks, and he's like, oh, you're still here. Oh, okay.
After school is the best because my daughter's in first grade, and there's a couple other, there's like a second grader and a third grader and maybe some other first graders within, sight of our house, and they'll go ring our doorbell, or my daughter will go ring their doorbell, and they're just running between houses, and it's pretty good setup. It's like free childcare. So then,
yeah, they just really monitor each other, and you watch them for 5.5 minutes, and then they watch them for 5.5 minutes, and this serpentine back and forth.
Yeah, we know they're like at one of 4 to 5 houses. So,
do you ever feel like you overparent your kids? Like get too hard on them? I feel like I'm too hard on my kids sometimes.
I yell at my son about pooping a lot. It's just wearing on me.
The doo-doo battles.
Yeah, the pooping battles. Yeah, he's almost 4 and he still is touch and go and pooping on the potty, and it's just
It's weird how kids just hang on to that.
It's gonna make me an old man, I think.
You're getting gray. I can see you might be getting a little bit of gray there in your beard, but yeah, I feel like I snap at him a little too much and come down for just like not listening stuff, and it's always I'll say stuff and then I'll regret it 2 seconds later. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah,
you really weren't doing something that awful, but I was at my wit's end and you weren't listening.
Yeah, it's
I popped off.
The accumulation of things over the course of the day or the hour or whatever, and it definitely
sometimes
a breaking point.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm doing psychological damage. Just like being overprotective and not letting them, be independent or figure things out on their own, or experiencing what dirt tastes like or whatever. And I'm just afraid that will or could hinder them, when they get older. And
are you saying you would stop them from eating the dirt?
No, I think I'd just let them do it. Oh. Like I'm not necessarily eat dirt, but certain things like that, like experience certain things and make those mistakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a lot when I'm here by myself.
Yeah, it's a fine line. Like we're just ice skating. It's like, do I hold her the whole time, or do I let her fall the whole time?
Right.
I guess that's kind of a good analogy for parenting.
Right. Are you always there to catch them, or do you let them fall and pick themselves back up and dust themselves off and be upset and try again?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Every kid seems different though, and they take that differently. Sometimes Olivia will get pissed and be done, and sometimes she'll get back up. You and I went ice skating a month and a half ago or so.
A lot of falls.
And there was a lot of falls, and she loved it though. She kept getting back up, but I've roller skated with her here in my driveway, and she's fallen twice, and said, "F it," throwing the roller skates, and she was done. So,
oh, that's a good gift idea. I should get some roller skates for her because she keeps asking for these things that I'm not going to get her.
Be prepared for tears. That's all I'm saying. Just they're coming with roller skates, but she'll get it.
Did you just roller skates or roller blades?
She did. She got skates. I don't know why we chose skates over blades, but I grew up on rollerblades. That was more. Well, I guess I grew up on skates, but then they transitioned when we were probably middle school age or so, and they kind of went to that inline skate situation. But yeah, we just got her old school roller skates, and she likes them, but we'll see if she sticks with it. All right, so that was part 1 of my very first in-person guest show. So thank you to Doug for coming in and spending the time with me. Just some different stories, different perspectives, so a little insight into someone else's life anyways. I hope you enjoyed that. And you didn't have to listen to me drone on by myself for 20 minutes, so that's a plus, right? We did talk more, but I will break it up into another show, so please stay tuned for that. So thank you for listening. Please reach out to me with any questions or comments at Vegas Raymer on Instagram or through podbean.com. And as always, you can find this podcast on all the big platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, as well as Google Podcast. And that's it. I will talk to you next week.